The Arizona desert stretched endlessly beneath the burning sun, a golden wasteland that shimmered with heat. Jake Hunter, a lone biker with wind-scarred skin and eyes that had seen too much, eased his Harley to a stop near a cracked sign half buried in sand. He was running from his own ghosts, bad memories, worse decisions, but the open road had always been his only escape. The silence of the desert pressed against his ears, broken only by the soft ticking of the cooling engine. He took a long sip of water, wiped the sweat from his brow, and that's when he saw her, something small, almost invisible in the waves of heat rising off the ground. At first, he thought it was an illusion, a mirage playing tricks on his tired eyes. But as he squinted, the figure became clear. A little girl stood by the roadside, barefoot and shaking, her hair tangled, her dress torn. She couldn't have been more than 7. In one hand, she held a faded doll missing an arm. The other hand trembled at her side. Jake's heart tightened. He kicked down the stand and walked toward her, boots crunching against gravel. When he got close enough to see the dirt streaked across her cheeks, she looked up, eyes wide with fear and pain. Then in a voice barely louder than the wind, she whispered, "Uncle, hit Mommy." For a moment, the world stood still. Jake's throat went dry as he glanced around. The desert was vast, silent, empty. No car, no home, no sign of life anywhere. Just this tiny soul, stranded and broken. He crouched beside her, his voice gentle. Hey. It's okay. You're safe now." She didn't answer, only clutched her doll tighter as if it were the last piece of her world left. Jake felt a lump in his chest he hadn't known was still capable of forming. He'd been through fights, storms, and wars of his own, but nothing had hit him like this child's quiet cry for help. He slipped off his worn leather jacket and wrapped it around her small shoulders. The desert wind had begun to pick up, carrying the smell of dust and sage. Jake lifted the girl carefully, placing her on the back of his bike. "Let's find your mom, okay?" he said softly, starting the engine. The bike roared to life, echoing through the emptiness like a promise. The little girl held onto his arm, her tiny fingers gripping tight, as though letting go meant losing the world again. As they rode toward the horizon, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't a chance encounter. Something about her, the sadness in her eyes, the quiet way she watched the landscape, felt almost otherworldly. He didn't know her name or what exactly had happened, but one thing was clear. This was only the beginning. What waited beyond that endless stretch of desert wasn't just a missing mother or a broken home. It was something older, deeper, a story buried within the heart of the Apache lands and a truth that would change Jake Hunter forever. 4 days had crawled by since Jake found Lena in the desert, yet the image of her dusty face and trembling voice still haunted him. He'd taken her straight to the nearest clinic, a small wooden building on the edge of town where the doctor still made house calls, and the sheriff knew everyone by name. They'd run tests, cleaned her wounds, and fed her warm soup, but she remained withdrawn. She barely spoke, never cried, and when she did sleep, she'd whisper the same eerie words again and again. "The hills are watching." The phrase sent chills down Jake's spine every time. The sheriff had put out a report, but no one came forward. No missing child, no family, no clue. By the 4th evening, Jake brought her to his cabin on the outskirts of town. It wasn't much, just a one-room space with a cot, a workbench, and his old Harley parked outside. He made her pancakes, tried to make her smile, but she only watched the sunset through the window, quiet and distant. Jake sat outside later that night, the desert sky stretching endlessly above him, filled with stars sharp as glass. He began polishing his bike, letting the rhythmic motion calm his thoughts. The cicadas hummed. Everything felt still, until a soft, unexpected knock echoed through the wooden door. Jake frowned. He wasn't expecting anyone. He set the rag aside, grabbed the old revolver he kept by the door, and opened it cautiously. There, standing in the moonlight, were 3 Apache women. Elders draped in colorful woven blankets, their hair silver and braided, their eyes reflecting both wisdom and sorrow. They said nothing at first, only regarded him quietly as though studying something beyond his face. Their presence carried weight, ancient, silent, powerful. Finally, one of them stepped forward, her voice calm yet commanding. "You found the child of our tribe," she said. "We've come to take her home." Jake blinked, stunned. His grip on the doorknob tightened. "Your tribe? How did you even find us out here?" he asked. But the woman didn't answer right away. Instead, she glanced past him into the dimly lit cabin, where Lena sat on the cot, her small figure illuminated by the flicker of the lamp. The girl looked up, eyes wide, and for the first time since he'd met her, her expression changed. Recognition, almost relief. Jake's pulse quickened. "Wait," he said, stepping between them. "If she's your tribe's child, then tell me where her mother is." "She said her uncle." The woman raised a hand, silencing him. "Some truths," she murmured, "are not meant to be spoken under this sky." Her words sent a chill through him. The other women began chanting softly, their voices low and rhythmic, blending with the desert wind. Jake turned to look at Lena again, and his stomach dropped. Her eyes seemed to shimmer, reflecting something ancient, something wild. The truth waiting in those hills, he realized, wasn't just about one missing girl. It was a story older than the road he rode on, and it had just found him.